2nd at 6:30, and I am going to officially call to order a meeting of the advisory committee. We're actually going to be seeing from a lot of folks from Town Hall tonight, including our tax collector, our treasurer and HR department, town administrator, and we'll have a discussion of some capital items. And we have a number of budgets to revote based on, correct me if I'm wrong, Nanachka, but basically resolution and certain open contract negotiations.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And those all been sorted out now. So what we're going to vote on is what?
Yeah, and what I'll do is when we get to
Okay.
them, I'll share my screen so that Nanachka can look at the number that we're voting on to confirm that if that's the right revised one.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't we get started with our tax collector, Michelle Carlisle. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good.
Would you like me to share my screen with your budget on it?
I have a copy of my budget right here.
Okay.
You can if you like.
Yeah, I'll share the one that we're looking at, and then
Okay.
you can let us know if it's consistent with what you've got. Do you see that?
Yeah. Let's see. I think I just need to close this though, and then here we go. So let's see. So Nanachka sent me the updated one, and yep, that looks exactly right.
Okay, great. So would you mind just walking us through the elements of your budget?
Sure. So salary and stipend, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Mhm.
Purchase of services, we added that line because I have invoice cloud charges $10 every time that somebody bounces a check. And I do try and get it back. Sometimes I don't. I also do give people benefit of the doubt. So let's say they reverse a payment and then they immediately go and pay it again. I don't have to contact them. I usually waive the $10 fee. So that helps me pay for that.
Mhm.
Software support is Vadar, and which is our financial software that we use at Town Hall. Postage is the mailing of all my bills, real estate, motor vehicle, all that. Tax taking expenses are for recording the instruments of taking. Office supplies, pretty self-explanatory. In-state travel is for the meetings that, maybe someday in the next 100 years we'll get to attend. And dues and such pretty self-explanatory. Now, I know that I did mention in one of the meetings we had last week, last Tuesday's meeting, that we're going to be going to a new online vendor, and we are going to be doing that. Hold on, I'm trying to get back. There we go. So that has no upfront costs. So that's great.
Okay.
They're going to backfill 1 calendar year as part of the migration. And if we want more than that, it's $1,000 flat fee. I'm going to discuss with the finance team how they feel about that. If they think that we need more than that, I personally don't think that we need that because I have all the information in Vadar. So anybody who needs back information, I can give it to them. It's not like they can't ever find it.
This is just to clarify for those that weren't in the meeting, this is the vendor for mailings, is that right?
Nope. So yes, mailings and our online payment system.
Yep.
So Invoice Cloud right now, we used to have MCC, and then Invoice Cloud bought MCC. So MCC was the printing part of it. They printed our real estate bills and mailed them out for us. So, we paid for that. Kelly and Ryan, the deputy collector, they do all the motor vehicle excise. They mail all my bills for me, but we pay on Invoice Cloud. Invoice Cloud's just, they're really not up to par. They make a lot of mistakes, and I've gotten a lot of complaints from my residents. So I want to look into going to City Hall Systems, which is Kelly and Ryan. And I've got to say that in the 5 years that I've been doing this job, or 6 years, however many it's been, they've made maybe one mistake. I've had to call them once. I call Invoice Cloud on a daily basis. You know, and if you want a good laugh, then just ask Pam and Jen, you know, how many times Michelle's lost her mind because Invoice Cloud can't get out of their own way. So I think that going to City Hall Systems, a lot of them are. Vadar has told me that I'm like one of the last holdouts for Invoice Cloud. So I gave it, you know, the old college try. Yeah, I'm done. So we lost the printer. They've decided they're not printing the bills anymore. So I've got to find that anyway. So I figured, why not just move the whole operation over to City Hall Systems? So we're meeting with them tomorrow morning, and I think that's what I'm going to do. It's not going to cost us anything extra, and they certainly know what they're doing.
Great.
Why not?
So just to confirm, the bottom line number that we have for your FY22 request is $74,687. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right. Well, then what I'll do is I'll stop sharing and give other members of the committee an opportunity to ask any questions that they might have.
Absolutely.
I don't see.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot to my budget. It's how, you know, the resources I need to get the money. That's pretty much it.
Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion to approve the tax collector budget, which is 146 for a total of $74,687?
I motion that.
I'll second it.
Great, and then I'll do a roll call. Ann,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Michelle. I know this is your favorite time of year.
Oh, yeah.
Hang
You
in
have
there.
no idea.
Good to see you, though. Your
Good to
kitchen
see
looks
you guys
beautiful, by
too.
the way.
Oh, thank you. My
All
favorite
right.
room in the house.
Mine too. All right, so next up, we will be hearing from our town treasurer, actually Jack of all trades. So is this the first time you've met with everyone new on the advisory? Feel free to just introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Kristen Noel. I've been with the town, crazy as it sounds, almost 4 years, 3.5 years. I started out as treasurer collector, and right now I am treasurer / HR director.
And so we actually are going to be going through a number of different budgets with Kristen. So by my count, we've got obviously the treasurer budget, the human resources budget. Then we also have the debt budgets and then some health and life insurance budgets toward the end, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think probably it would just be easy for me to share the spreadsheet again. And we'll start with the treasurer budget. Just one second. First, Kristen, if you wouldn't mind just taking a look to make sure that this bottom line number matches up with whatever you have, 115,761.
Minus the salaries, yes. Yep. Software. What is that? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong column. It does, yes, that ties out perfectly.
Okay, great. So why don't we just start from the top? And again, salary and stipend. It looks like there's a step increase in a COLA, and the total for salary and stipend under wages we have is 88,901. Okay, great. So then if you want to just start from longevity and move down to explain each one.
So longevity is a benefit that the town offers our employees. Basically, for town hall employees, it's 10 years plus. So the reason for the increase is last year it was voted that we increase each tier by $100. So we have a tier, if you work with the town 10 years, you get a certain amount of money. It was 300, now it's 400. Or 250 and 350. So each tier has gone up $100. So we were able to, so basically that and also the DPW union contract, their longevity schedule had noted that as well. So we are contractually obligated to obviously pay out the higher rate to DPW, and then town hall followed suit. So that's the only increase that I'm asking for the treasury budget, and it does equal about 14%.
Got it. Okay.
And then everything else I have level funded from last year. Again, it has been a crazy year. The 8,100 is for the software support. That is actually for my payroll vendor, Harper's Payroll. They're the service provider for us. And also we all share a portion of the Vadar user fee. So the 81 includes my payroll software as well as the user fee for Vadar. Postage, I send out to the accounts payables checks every 2 weeks. So that is for that. We have tax taking expense. So the tax taking expense, we had a financial meeting earlier this week and Brian was part of that. But just to explain where we're at with that, 2 years ago, I believe it was 2019, we had established a tax title revolving account. We never funded it. We established the account. And as treasurer, Michelle actually as tax collector starts the process. So anyone who is delinquent in their dues or their taxes, there is a long process. It's all statutory. We send out so many notifications. At some point when someone is past due, the town goes in and puts a lien on someone's property. It's a tax title lien. And what happens at that point is after a certain period of time, the town does have the option to take further action, which is really through land court. And what we decided was a few years back, early on when I started out as treasurer, we really took a look at all the properties that we had in tax title, and we started with vacant properties. We're really trying to make an effort to foreclose, or we began the process of foreclosing on some of these parcels that have just been on this tax title list for years and years. And when a property's on tax title, in the tax title rather, we're not getting any revenue. So we really need to either have the owners, pay these balances in full, or have the town foreclose so we can auction and get these parcels back on the tax roll. So long story short, the whole purpose of the tax title revolving account is once we foreclose on a tax title property, or if a resident comes in and pays off their tax title balance, we are allowed to take any fees collected, and we are allowed to use those fees and put it back into the tax title revolving account to pay for future legal fees. So Coppola is our tax title legal counsel, and they walk us through the entire process. They're the ones who represent us in land court, but every time they do anything for us, of course, it costs money. So eventually at some point, I would love to see the revolving fund be able to, pay for all of the expenses we have. We do have several parcels right now that are very close to being foreclosed on, but especially with the pandemic, the land court has been very lenient and really erring on the side of the taxpayers. So we haven't been able to kind of close that loop. So we haven't been able to fund the account. What we had talked about was, so the tax title expense here, I'm asking for $1,000. That's really, it's a number. I would love, rather than increasing that, basically what we thought might be a good option is to fund through this next town meeting, to fund the revolving account, to have $5,000 added to the tax title revolving account.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second
Of course,
there? Because I want to make sure that we're understanding. It looks like when we look at this budget as a whole, there's actually 3 different tax taking expense sources of funding that are proposed. Okay. So there's the 2,000 that we just approved under Michelle Carlisle's budget.
Correct.
And then there's the 1,000 that you're proposing under your budget. And then there's also
The revolving.
the 5,000 for the revolving fund.
Correct. So what Michelle does is completely separate. So Michelle actually uses that money to record the tax takings. So when a property is delinquent and they get all their notifications, it's $105 per parcel to record those fees at the Registry of Deeds. So her part is, that's what her funds are for. It's actually for the recording fee. So we are able to put the new properties back into, or put them into tax title.
Got it. All right. So I think it's not that anybody's, not that the residents are necessarily going to be looking this carefully, but
Yeah.
just so that we all know, this is tax taking expense largely for recordings at the Registry of Deeds.
Yes.
And this is tax taking expense for actually pursuing the
Related to
cases.
the legal
Oh,
fees.
sorry, Michelle, you have a comment?
Yeah, so I have a suggestion, maybe having those be named the same thing, because when we were a combined budget, it was only one line item. And when we split the budget, we never changed the name. I think maybe for the treasurer, it should be foreclosure expenses. Because once the tax collector puts something into tax title, it moves over to the treasurer's books, comes off the tax collector's books, and it goes to the treasurer's books.
Mhm.
And then what she does is move towards foreclosing. So I might make that suggestion.
I think that makes sense, because otherwise it's not really clear what the difference is.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, it looks like it's redundant. Yeah.
So, I mean, Nanachka can let me know whether there's like any issue with the accounting numbers, like this 5344, whether that needs to change, but could we change this to foreclosure expense?
Does that make sense, Nanachka, to change it to foreclosure expense?
Do you do anything else? Is it always for foreclosure expenses?
It's definitely legal expenses, so I don't know if we want to, well, then we may confuse it with the actual legal budget.
I mean,
Well, the
that is,
foreclosure expense is part of the legal, isn't it?
Right, it is. I mean, that,
I
yeah,
don't love foreclosure expense. I don't know, because Michelle's right. Tax title is a treasurer function, so I don't know if maybe we want to rename Michelle's line item. Like, to me, tax title is treasurer, is where, I mean, yours are essentially.
mine could just be tax title expenses.
Right.
Michelle's is tax taking.
Oh,
mean,
okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's true.
So yours could be
Sure.
tax
Tax
title
title.
expense.
Mhm.
yeah.
I'll change Michelle's to tax taking.
Well, hers is already tax taking.
Oh. Well, there you go.
Yeah, and there's definitely a difference. So yeah, that would work.
That's much clearer.
Okay.
Great. All right, sorry, I just wanted to,
Oh, no, I was rambling. Feel free to interrupt at any time.
And Brian,
Um,
what about the $5,000 tax taking expense? Should that remain tax taking expense? Or, oh, okay, wait.
Actually,
Sorry,
tax title would be
revolving
appropriate.
fund. Okay, that's
Yeah,
clear.
that would be
All right.
appropriate.
That makes sense.
Perfect.
okay. All right, so moving along with your budget, office
So-
supplies.
Office supplies is what it is. We're level funding. Bank charges. So I have a number of fees associated with different borrowings that we do. We do State House notes. I work with a financial advisor from Unibank Fiscal Services. So that account covers any of their fees. So that's what the bank charge line item is for. Educational assistance, this is something that was set up with the town years ago before I had come. So this is really just an account that offers employees an opportunity if they are pursuing either a bachelor or master's degree, and their supervisor allows it. We are able to help reimburse for different courses related to their job description. Education are in-state travel, meeting expenses, mileage. I do do multiple bank runs per week, so that covers that. Dues, just association dues. Both Michelle and I are part of the Mass Treasurer Collector Association, the Worcester County Treasurer Association, Collector Treasurer, as well as HR associations. And then meetings, again, at some point we'll get back to that, but yeah, all level funded.
Okay, and so the total request is 115,761 for treasurer. Do folks have questions about this budget for Kristen before we move on to the HR budget?
Kristen, I had two quick questions.
Yes.
So the longevity line, you said that's for town employees who've worked for the town for at least 10 years, they get a little extra bonus.
Correct.
And this one line covers all town employees?
It does. So I have a schedule that I keep and I update each year. We've had, a few higher, so we had a few retirements last year. So we were able to, that's why it goes up and down a little bit, just depending on who's still with us. So yes, everyone, so based on anyone who has been employed with the town for 10 years, that is what we're looking at. That's what we've been
Okay.
paying out for fiscal 22.
We
Okay,
used to break it out by department, and like Kristen said, some years it's a different department, some years it's another department, some are going over, going under. We figured just lump it all together.
right.
Do you know
Okay, then-
ballpark? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Bob.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you know ballpark how many people are in that longevity category right now?
Maybe ballpark, at least 10, if not 12. We
Got
have, DPW has a large amount of employees that have been here for quite some time. Town Hall probably has 4, if not yet. Don and Nachka, yeah, so I would say close, at least probably close to 14.
Got it. Sorry, Bob Guerrero, you had another question.
Yeah, on the educational assistance.
Oh, sorry, Bob
That's
Zakansky.
okay.
I was just gonna have Bob Guerrero go first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One more quick one, and I'm not sure who might be the right person to answer this, but Vadar software has come up a number of times in a number of different departments,
Mhm.
and the costs are split out. Do we have a sense of what it costs the town across the board for this software?
So Ninotchka may have those numbers. So basically the treasurer, the accountant, treasurer, and tax collector all utilize Vadar. Mostly the accountant and tax collector though.
They're different modules, although they're the same umbrella company. We each have our own modules. So if you just add up those 3 together, that's our total cost.
Okay.
Full, I should say.
Bob Zakansky.
Yep, thank you. On the educational, I was just looking at the ledger report. You've got 800 allocated for fiscal 21 and 500's been used. In light of what the actual for 2020 was, why did you stick with 800 for fiscal 22?
It's last year was the first time we actually used it. It's a good point. It's very rarely used. We had one individual take advantage of that. So honestly, I would either have to keep it 800 or I'd have to increase it to 5,000. We had one person on a bachelor degree track, and we actually, I'm not sure if that was this year or last year. It's one of those things. We've just started using it again, and some years I've never touched it.
So it's not used by a bunch of people. It's
No.
maybe 1 or 2 people who.
And it's hard, yes.
All right, so
Yeah.
I'm fine with it at 800 then.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so would somebody like to make a motion to approve the treasurer budget at 115,761?
I move we present this, approve this budget as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Craig,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, great. Now we will move on to
And
human
I'm going to
resource.
say goodnight now. I stayed for Kristen for the treasurer. So I am going to say goodnight.
All right, good night. Thank you.
Bye, Michelle.
Good night.
You know, any
Michelle.
additional questions or whatever, feel free to let me know.
Okay, thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, human resources.
Okay. Very simple budget. So last year I calculated the stipend incorrectly. So the requested is reflective upon what the correct stipend should have been. So that's why we do see the difference there, and I am getting paid the correct amount. So we will have money to turn back at the end of this fiscal year with that line item. Purchase of service, primarily, I use that for advertising for job postings. We usually go through the MMA website. We've tried Indeed this year as well. So that's what the $500 for that is. Supplies, again, pretty self-explanatory. In-state travel, I am, of course, involved in different associations with the MMHR now, Human Resource Association through the state, dues, again, association dues, and then just meeting expenses.
Well, can't argue with a reduction. Any questions about this one? If not, maybe a brave soul can move to approve this budget as presented. Oh, sorry, I see a question from Bob.
Yeah. I'm just curious, why, when you broke out the responsibilities between treasurer and human resources, why is education still in treasurer as opposed to moving over to human resources? It's not a budget busting issue. I realize that. I'm just curious about what the logic is behind that.
That's a good point. I think, well, actually, it's probably a pretty easy answer. When Donna Madden was here, her official title was treasurer, collector, HR director. So it really all fell under her umbrella.
Okay.
And then when we started seeking a part-time human resource director, I think this is just what was pulled out. But you're right. It probably would be more suited toward the HR budget.
Okay. So, that's not a showstopper. Like I said, I was just curious about it. And
yep.
Maybe next year.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Makes sense.
Any other comments? Questions? Okay. Craig, you want to make a motion?
Sure. I move we approve the human resource budget as presented.
Okay.
A second.
All right. Roll call. Craig,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting organized here. Kristen, do you have a preference about which one we do next? I mean, I sort of think, we have, let me just share my screen. I feel like voting on the debt service doesn't make sense until we've discussed all of the capital items, but is there anything about account 710 and 752 that we should know apart from just our consideration of the proposed capital items?
So I can present this and then Anachka can jump in as well. The one thing we did want to discuss tonight was we have two borrowings, I believe, going on the town meeting warrant. One is the fire truck, which we are proposing that we do borrow for. So with the fire truck, with the timing of the delivery, we are going to authorize the borrowing in FY 2021, but there won't be any debt service due in FY 22. And then we've also, I believe, have talked about adding one of the DPW trucks, borrowing for that. So one of the things that Nachka and I wanted to talk about was, so the DPW truck, I believe it's 115,000 we'd be borrowing for. And Nanachka broke down the payment to 5 years. So we'd be looking at, is it the 23,000? We can structure these repayments any way we'd like. We can, because what we're doing is we are borrowing using State House notes. So we renew these borrowings each year, and then we can control, or we can dictate how much we want to pay down each fiscal year. So if there's one year that we have particularly a little bit more room in the budget, we can pay down more. But we just wanted to present that with the truck right now, the DPW truck, we have, forecasted that out for 5 years. So that's where the $23,000 repayment comes from. But again, it's open to whatever, the town would like to pay down. Does that make sense, Nachka?
Yes, exactly. So, debt has gone down, not significantly down this year. So maybe you wanted to pay 50,000, maybe you wanted to pay 60, it's kind of, we just wanted to tell you guys you have options. It doesn't have to be 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. You could pay down a different amount every year, depending on what your capacity is. So I just put in the 5 year and let you guys think about what you want to pay down.
Bob Zikansky has a question.
Yeah, I've got a spreadsheet from February 10th, so I may not have the latest version. But if we're going to take the fire truck out, why not just use that money for the DPW truck?
Well, you'll see when we go through the capital discussion with Dawn that we're already using a lot of free cash for other capital projects.
Including that 80,000?
Including
the 80,000, that was, again, I'm using a February 10th version of the budget, so I may not have the latest version, but if we're going to take the fire truck out of the debt service,
it's already gone.
We've got a balanced budget with the fire truck in there.
It's already out in this budget, the 80,000.
Okay.
I think we're having the capital conversation before we're having the capital conversation.
Exactly. Okay,
so just know that debt piece is out there.
Yep. All right. So can we move off of these ones for now? All right, and then next I have is 911, 913, 914, and 916. And I think these numbers may be incorrect.
So we received the Worcester Regional Retirement Assessment. This again is dictated to us. So originally I had an estimate of a 10% increase, and unfortunately it came in a little bit higher. So the 602,296 is a correct figure for fiscal 2022.
Okay.
And I did actually get a little bit of background because I know that is quite a jump. So basically the reason for the increase, I did reach out to the retirement board, is we hired 3 members of group 4 over this past year, which is public safety, and it increased our average salary by 20%. So that was the reason that was given to me for that large increase. And that's actually including a brand new position of fire chief as well. So that's a big part of it. That was not part of our assessment prior.
Yep. Then 913, we just fund those as they come due, right?
Yeah, we've actually been pretty lucky with all the fraudulent claims out there and everything going on. We have very few real unemployment claims, and it's usually for an employee that has another position elsewhere. So we've been very fortunate with that. So we've always, for the past few years, we've just zeroed that out. And you're right, if we do get an actual claim that comes in, we'll do a reserve fund transfer request.
Okay. For the health insurance budget, are these numbers still correct?
No, I think I emailed you earlier this afternoon. So I just received the actual rates from Minuteman Neshoba Health Group, which is our joint purchasing group that we belong to. And so we have a few retirements coming up, and we will be hiring for those positions. So what I did, I erred on the side of caution, and I always budget a few additional family plans Because a few of the retirements, those individuals have individual health plans, so their replacement could very well take a family plan. So that all being said, right now with the new rates that we have, the total is 580,965.76.
Say that one more time,
580,965.76. And I will explain, so last year, what ended up happening was I included the town retiree cost. I took that number and I added it in twice inadvertently. I have a spreadsheet where everything's broken out, and the town contribution included the retiree. It was in there twice. So it does look like it's a decrease from last year. But 580,966 is correct. And that does give us a little bit of flexibility with an additional, 2 additional family plans.
got it. Okay, and then OPEB is 186,271.
Correct.
And I'm just making sure I've got all my numbers right. And Medicare is still 56745.
Yes. Yeah, we just take 2% of last year's budget.
Okay, now I know we've got 3 new members on advisory, so they might have some questions about the different insurances. But since we know what the numbers are, I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. So we can...
Well, I don't want to interrupt, but workers' comp, we do have an actual figure for that now as well.
Oh, great.
And that actually was wonderful news. We found out yesterday that that has gone down significantly. So Jenny and I have been working with Maya, and that is now, Jenny just had the number up. It's 20, let's see.
25,319.
Okay, yep.
319 exactly.
Yes.
And we actually checked with them multiple times to make sure that number was correct, and that is the number we should be budgeting. But what happened was we had a few existing claims in the past that are no longer calculated against our workers' comp. So we've been very fortunate to see that experience that decrease for this fiscal year.
Great. Questions for, that was everything on your list, right, Kristen?
Retirement, yep. Workers' comp, unemployment, group health, yep. Life insurance, we're level funding.
It's funny, I have life insurance and workers' comp under the town administrators section for some reason. I think
okay.
that's the
Yeah,
way we
no,
used to do it, but it's no
those are both
change.
be mine as well. So yeah, life insurance, we're level funding at 1,400. Our rates have not changed on that. And yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Any other questions for Kristen? So let me just share this one more time. It looks like we should probably vote on 9/11 by itself. So does somebody want to make a motion to approve the Worcester Regional Retirement Assessment of 602,296?
I'll make that motion for 602,926. Oh, sorry, 602,296.
I second that.
Okay, so since Craig made the motion and since Omid seconded it, I want you two to do the exact same motion and seconding. I'm just going to go through the other ones and then we'll do the roll call as a block. So for 912, does Craig want to make a motion to approve
Sure.
the budget at $25,319?
I move we approve 912 for 25,319.
I second that.
Okay, Craig, do you want to move approval of 913 at nothing?
Sure. How about I move the approval of 913 for nothing?
I second the nothing.
Okay, and then for health insurance, which combines group health and OPEB, The new bottom line number is 767,237.
I'll move we approve health insurance for 767,237.
Second that.
And then since Kristen explained life insurance, motion, yep,
I'll move we approve life insurance for 1,400.
I second that.
okay, and then last question, and this is for Nanachka or Kristen. So I think this is technically mathematically determined, right? This 916 is determined mathematically.
Yes.
So should we actually approve that at the very end in case there are any other changes in wages, or does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably negligible. I mean, I
Okay.
could just make it that number. You know.
Okay, all right, so then why don't we
I move we approve 916 Medicare tax for 56,745.
I second that.
okay, all in favor, I'll do a roll call. Craig,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
Anne,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
Okay. Great. I really hope I'm not forgetting anything. Nanachka, we got everything right for Kristen?
Yep.
Okay.
Brian, did you say your yes as well?
Oh, no, so I'm a yes as well. Thanks. All right, so I think we have covered everything from you, Kristen. Thank you so much for being here.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we're on to our town administrator and a whole slew of budgets from him as well. I'll let you and or Jenny tell me if it makes sense to just walk through in order of number.
Yeah, Brian, I would suggest if we just do it in order of numbers, starting with 122, that's probably best. And I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has on any of the line items. It might be easier to do it that way, but whatever,
Okay.
whatever works for you.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just start at 122. Do you want to just, since we have a few new members, do you want to just explain what's covered by those?
Sure. Okay, so we've got selectman's salary, which, you know, is driven by bylaw, $300 a selectman. Purchase of services is funded at $10,000. Haven't spent much of it yet. That is by design, because I knew that we were going to have a significant unexpected expense in the to repair or replace actually the motor in the generator at the library. So we're looking at about a $20,000 bill for that. So I wanted to be able to apply probably $7,000 or $8,000 from the purchase of services to help defray the impact from that, and have the rest come from the DPW budget. And then if we run short, you know, look for an advisory reserve transfer towards the end of the year for DPW. But it's a good example of why we have purchase of services. There are things that I run into every year that may not be anticipated, or an opportunity that comes forward. And this is a classic example of that. Aside from that, the wheat membership, you know, it's a $7,000 fee every year we pay to wheat as one of the 5 member communities. Wheat services Bolton, just as it does Clinton, Berlin, Lancaster, and I believe Sterling are the other towns. It's a nonprofit based in Clinton that helps low-income people. Provides oil assistance, provides food. I don't know if the cafe is still operating. I assume it is, but it provides hot meals to people every evening. They do a lot of good work. So aside from that, as I said, things are pretty straightforward in that account, but again, any questions I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. If there are questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve 122.
Just a quick question. For the services, I thought like we were the one that if like we kept the capital, so if additional charges came, like fixing the generator and stuff, we would approve that, so we don't have to create or park money somewhere else for those purposes.
It really, I don't usually use it for this type of thing. I usually use it for opportunities that come forward, such as one year we had an opportunity to get in a new phone system that was badly needed, and that in the middle of the year, and we had an opportunity to get a good deal, so I used it for that. I just run into various things every year that we just that you can't always plan for, and that tends to be what the account is used for. I would not normally have used it for something like a generator, but knowing the impact it could be, knowing it's a tight budget year, I just felt like it was a good opportunity.
I don't understand. It's just I do government finance. They call that parking the funds the way you explained it. The second time you explained it was fine. The first one, so that was all. I'm good.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, somebody want to make a motion to approve?
Move we approve the selectmen budget for 19,620.
I'll second that.
Okay, Craig.
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Omid,
Hi.
Anne,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay. Next up is the town administrator budget.
Okay, again, we have my salary. We have annual stipend that I get for being the hearing officer, which is dictated by statute, actually. Jenny's wages, deferred compensation, which is a contractual obligation, as is the disability insurance. The compensation reserve, this is a really important line. We started doing this a couple of years ago. What we use that for is as we do negotiations as we do salary negotiations with personnel, sometimes they can be very protracted. Normally with the unions, they can be very protracted. And what we were running into was we were having to wait for either a special town meeting or the next annual town meeting to do retroactive increases for folks. Well, by budgeting this money, once we have come to settle negotiations, it's already in the budget. So we don't have to go through the task of waiting to do a having the staff wait and putting the finance team through the exercise of doing a retro. So you don't see anything spent here yet, because we do the adjustment at the end of the year rather than doing it on a weekly basis. So you'll see this go down significantly by the end of the year. The good news is, as of last Thursday night, we have agreements with all unions for this year. So we'll have nothing carrying over. I should say we'll have nothing unnegotiated by the end of this year, which is a great spot to be in. We're not always in that spot.
So Dawn, a question then, does that make the compensation reserve for FY22 unnecessary, or am I confused?
Oh no, we have agreements in place for FY22, which we will fund out of the compensation reserve.
Well, so because you might not be aware of this, but we have later tonight, and the Notch could chime in here if I'm like not making any sense, but I believe later tonight we are scheduled to revote on both the police and the highway budgets based on the recent agreements. Is that right, Nachka?
Yes, so those would actually be in the budgets, but I don't know if there's any other contract negotiations that may be happening for FY22.
So let me just scroll down then just to show Dawn really quickly what we're referring to. So like this number is an updated number for police. And this number is an updated number for highway. And we have an updated number for transfer station as well. So Nanachka, where did you get those numbers from?
Those were the 1-year negotiated FY22 numbers, the 2%. So those are now baked in that we were going to use the compensation reserve for, but I don't know if there's any other contracts that are being negotiated in FY22. I don't want to.
So Nanachka, that's the question I asked you earlier today, and you said that it was going to come out of the wage reserve, so I'm confused.
I thought you were talking about FY21.
No.
Oh.
I mean, we should be doing the same thing every year. For FY21 and FY22, the wage reserve should be used the same way.
So my understanding is that we use the wage reserve if we don't know the numbers during the budget season. And since we were able to get them early, which is never the case, we baked them into the budget. But there are other departments. I don't know if I don't want to say who else is negotiating, but I don't know.
No, going into FY22, we have established a baseline for every department.
So fire's all set.
Fire is all set.
Okay.
And the track that we're on now, and it's going to be a lot of work for me next year, but that is what it is. The track that we're on now, every contract expires June of next year.
Okay.
So I'll be negotiating three contracts simultaneously.
In June of 2022.
I'm sorry?
They all expire in June of 2022.
That's correct. Police, fire, and DPW. So my understanding when I discussed this with Nanachka this morning was that the wage reserve was going to be used, applied to the FY22 negotiated settlements. If that's not the case,
no, I was confused. Yeah,
and that 60,000 can be stricken from the budget.
So,
yes, yeah. If everything is negotiated and in the budgets, then.
Well, so how about this then? Sorry, I'm just going to stop sharing for a second so we can all talk to each other. If, like, I know that we have an updated number for highway and police. I don't know if we have an updated number for fire. At least it didn't look like there had been an adjustment in the spreadsheet Nanachka sent out, right, today?
I believe firefighters have one more year in their contract. They expire in 2022. Is that right, Don?
That's correct.
And is the fire chief expire in 2022?
The fire chief has a new, the fire chief's contract expires this year. I'm working on a new one with him. And as far as I know, our plan is in the current fire budget, which has him going up a step.
So
he gets a 2% COLA like everybody else, and he goes up a step. That's what he gets next year.
Okay. Didn't know if that one was being renegotiated.
Here's an idea, and let me know if it would actually make everybody's life more difficult. My thought is, tonight, instead of revoting the actuals on police and highway, we should provisionally vote to accept the town administrator budget with the $60,000 compensation reserve for tonight. And then between now and the 16th, we can figure out like whether the $60,000 will cover everything and whether it's all been captured somehow. But I don't want to revote on departmental budgets if there's still some departmental budgets that might be changed between now and the time the budgets close out.
I don't think there will be.
I don't see why there would be, unless I'm missing something. I don't see why there would be.
Yeah, from my perspective, this is just kind of all new news, and I'd love to be able to lock it down tonight, but if you do that and then there's something we overlooked, my concern is just it's all kind of
Well,
sudden news to
But we're
me.
not negotiating, there isn't anything else to negotiate, so I don't know why it would change.
Okay, then let's take the 60,000 out.
Okay, so maybe I misunderstood. I thought that there may be another change to the fire chief's number, but that's not the case.
If his step and COLA is in that budget,
It is.
then that's it.
Okay.
I think I had my years confused.
I'm sorry, what?
I think I had my years confused. I was thinking things were expiring earlier than they were.
Okay. So then what we'll do is we're actually going to zero this out. Right?
Yeah. This is I think this is like the perfect storm of having all union contract numbers known before March 15th.
Well, it's the first time. I'll say one thing. This is my 12-year anniversary today, and I have never seen it before.
Yeah, no, nice job.
You're telling us not to get used to this?
It happens every 12 years, Bob.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I was going to say. The next 12 years.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry we went down that rabbit hole, but I think we're all on the same page now.
No, I think that was a good conversation. It clears things up.
Okay. Now we're just all going to have to remember why this is zero when we come around next year.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Now we all got to remember this conversation. Yeah.
I will definitely remember.
As will I.
Okay, so
So
why don't we?
may I just do one more thing
Yeah.
to this budget? Because I wasn't anticipating that the conversation was over yet. My dues, the dues line, which actually reads as, it actually should be 207. It's been what is in there right now is we actually spent 207.60. It got missed, how do I want to say? It was accounted for under in-state travel rather than dues. And as we all know, I'm not doing any in-state travel right now. And the dues are a byproduct of my salary because it's our MMA membership. So the 207.60 really should go up to 250 for next year. Since we just saved $60,000, I feel better about it.
So dues should be 250.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then the new bottom line for the town administrator budget is 218,477. Any other questions about that before there's a motion to approve?
Alan, can I ask one quick question? Why do we have a life insurance line here in addition to 915 is also the life insurance line?
That's part of my contract. The town pays for a percentage of a life insurance policy for me.
I see. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the town administrator's budget for 218,477.
Second it.
Okay, Craig,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay. Next I have is 151 legal.
This is always an interesting conversation. I'm always trying to hope that this is going to be the year that the legal budget stays under control. The ironic thing is that one of the drivers normally in the legal budget can be labor negotiations. I didn't have to use town council for labor negotiations this year because the unions were extremely cooperative, reasonable. They understood the situation that we're in. So I did it all myself without the assistance of council. That being said, we had a few things come up this year that were unanticipated. I will give a couple of examples. I can only go into so much detail. One is probably the best known is the Still River 40B situation that we spent a lot of money on, a lot of legal fees negotiating that. We have one property owner in town who we've been in Superior Court with for a while, going over a situation relative to alleged improper activities taking place on the land. And we had a personnel issue, which obviously I can't get into, which cost some money as well. So it could have been a really good budget year, but for those things. So as I said a minute ago, the good news is we've got all the labor contracts settled right now. The bad news is we start negotiations on all the new contracts next year. And I think Labor Council will be needed for that, for all three, probably, at least two. And it could be an expensive year. I always like to say, you know, let's keep it at 50,000. And I really thought 50,000 would be sufficient this year, and it's not going to be. Given where we are right now, I was going to try to keep it at 50, but given the conversation we just had, I think we might be better off if we bump it up to 60,000, quite honestly.
Any comments or reactions from members of the advisory?
Is the Still River issue still ongoing?
It is ongoing in the, I want to make sure I answer this correctly. It is ongoing in the sense that we don't have a final settlement, but we are not actively negotiating at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And Don, you're suggesting increasing it to 60,000 because you see this trend increasing where just things come up that we have to cover?
Yes, the trend of things coming up and knowing that we'll be going into pretty significant labor negotiations.
Where are we
You
right
think
now?
60 is enough?
Yeah.
I don't honestly know, Ann. I think that was Ann. I don't honestly know. I mean, it's if things go a certain way, I would say yes. Otherwise, no. You know, I try to not budget for money that may not be spent. I think it's all a matter of, is advisory more comfortable putting the budget number higher, knowing it may or may not be spent, or keeping the budget number a little lower with the possibility or likelihood that we'll be coming back looking for reserve transfers. I think it really is all how you want to approach it.
So where are, oh, Where are we now in the fiscal year 21 actual?
We're already over
actually
budget.
it's 63,000.
Right, I kind of knew that.
Yeah.
But now we still have 3 months left, maybe 4, doing the math.
We have 4 months left. The big driver between now and the end of the year, unless a new surprise comes, will be town meeting.
Okay, so
We've got bills coming in for working with me for town meeting. We've got the actual town meeting itself, where we have our attorney there.
so we're probably looking at 70.
I think you're probably right, Craig. I'd say we
Okay.
could be looking at 70 for the year.
Maybe we should make this 70 instead of 60.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
I mean, especially maybe since we did reduce the compensation reserve and it is related to labor negotiations, it's not a bad year to bump it up.
I mean,
Not that I ever advocate for going up.
I'm fine putting it somewhere between 60 and 70. So if somebody wants to make a motion to that effect.
So I move that we set 151 legal services at 70,000.
I could miss it, like I could reschedule. but
I'll second that.
Super inconvenient for me, and you already committed to the team. though.
Okay, all in favor, Craig,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Omid. And I think you were on mute, Omid. I can see you. And then Anne,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, so all right, so legal is at 70. We have to remember that too in a couple of years if we can bring it back down. All right. Next, I have 192.
Okay, so the really the two pertinent items that we have here that should be discussed are heating and electric. Heating is running lower than normal. Electric is running higher. The reason for that, we believe, is that we just installed, using CARES Act money, we just installed ductless splits in the town hall, which provides very efficient heating and, in the summertime, air conditioning. But the reason we could use the CARES Act money for it is it helps with the circulation of the air in the town hall, gets some fresh air in here, and it also has an ionizing component. So I'm able to ionize the air as well. So we've significantly increased the air quality in the town hall. So we're not using as much oil, but we're using more electricity. And we don't really have a good run rate yet to be able to make an adjustment here. So I think overall, I think it's going to net out relatively close to zero, but we need a year. We need the data from the remainder of this year to be able to really inform us of that. The splits themselves were just installed in November, or December possibly, oh, November. And we've got one more that's just being wrapped up now. So I think that probably the best thing we can do is leave the numbers the way they are, with one exception. And Jenny, I need you to, yeah. So we have a note that the town hall, just noting for you that the budget request has been, for electric, has been reduced by $1,250, which should be added to the Parks and Rec budget for the National Grid accounts for Memorial and Mechanic Street Pond Park. Just so we can capture where the electricity is actually being used. So that would be just transferring that expense over. But otherwise, I would leave this as requested despite the run rate, just so we can get some data behind us.
And Lisa did add that 1250 into her budget, so you don't
Yes,
need to
we don't-
change the Parks and Rec vote.
Right, thank you.
I have two questions. The purchase of services and the repair line items, do we need them?
No, I don't believe we do. Yeah, we left $10 a piece in there last year because the feeling was advisory didn't want to zero it out. So it was like a token $10 put in there, as I recall.
Because I'm thinking any repairs for town hall would probably be captured under Randy's town buildings budget.
It would.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I'm gonna just play around with this for a second.
And there might be purchases services. I wasn't sure what that was, but the repairs I thought for sure could be a DPW.
Well, it sounds like purchase of services probably could be covered by the purchase of services under the town administrator's budget as well.
It could.
At least $10 probably could. All right, so then with those changes, is there a motion to approve?
I make the motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Any discussion or questions or? All right, roll call. Anne,
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Omid. I think you were on mute. Can you just say again? Is anybody else? Oh, there we go. Got it. Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, great. Town reports is next, 195.
So we're proposing to increase the purchase of services from 3,000 to 3,700 and zero out the postage line. The warrant for town meeting for the past year, well, for last year for sure, has been printed and delivered by the independent. So a separate postage line is not required. The delivery fee is cumulative in the purchase of services line. So we don't have a postage expense per se. It's captured through the bill that we get from the independent.
Got it. Yeah, I think Pam Powell also kind of mentioned that last week as well. So is there a motion to approve 195 for a total of 3,700?
Move we approve 195 for 3,700.
I second.
Okay, roll call. Anne,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay. Next one I have is number 243, plumbing and gas inspector. And I think we can probably take that together with wiring inspector.
Correct. It's just the wages for the two inspectors.
Going up by the 2% COLA.
Yes.
Does anybody have questions about those? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the plumbing and gas inspector and the wiring inspector budgets.
Second.
Great. Roll call. Anne,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay. Oh, okay. So the next one I have is actually the post-secondary vocational ed budget, which I believe sometimes comes from your office and sometimes comes from Neshoba, but I don't even think we have a request for FY22. So does anybody know if that's right?
That is correct. As far as we know right now, there is no applicable student for this. For the new members, this is when a student would go to, say, Assabet. Legally, they're allowed to do that if the curriculum they want to pursue is not available at Minuteman. And we had one student attending for the past, I believe, 2 years, possibly 3. But that student graduated and we don't have a new request in.
And just a little side note, I don't know how relevant it is, but starting in the fall, Minuteman has added a major of animal sciences. And I suspect that that's a related field to the major that drew the student that's currently there.
I believe you're absolutely right.
Great. All right, so that we have no request for that, but we need to make a motion to approve post-secondary voc ed for $0 in FY22.
A motion that.
I'll second that motion for nothing.
Okay, Anne,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and Brian is in a yes as well. Okay. Oh my God, I prefer these meetings in person. I just have to tell you, this is a bit of a drag. 440 sewer.
It's nice not to have to go out in the cold, though.
I don't like
That's
sitting
true.
in my office by myself for an hour and a half. I like company.
That is a lovely sweater you're wearing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, okay, so sewer, it's level funded at 8,700.
Yes. We've got the bill, the rate for Whitewater from next year. It looks like it's going up by $93.84. And that could be covered under the $8,700, we believe.
Could you just very quickly remind me and everybody else what facilities this covers?
This specifically deals with the wastewater treatment facility and the maintenance thereof and the testing and so forth. When it was built, it was negotiated that 85% of the expense would be borne by the school district and 15% would be borne by the town, because the town has the facilities such as the public safety building, the library, and the Houghton building, which utilize the wastewater treatment facility. So it's our share of the expense.
Got it. Okay, is there a motion to approve sewer?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I'm just curious why it's not under DPW.
Well, I guess what I would say, and this is the answer that I hate more than anything when somebody says this, is that's where it's always been, which is a terrible answer. It could certainly be under DPW. I think when it was first done, and I'm not being critical of anyone, when it was first done, the DPW had minimal involvement with this, and it was left to the school to oversee. So it just kind of fell under this general account. I have had the previous and the current DPW director more involved than ever. And that's not a criticism of anyone. It's just Randy now gets all reports. He gets all data relative to the wastewater treatment facility. We have visibility to everything that is happening. So it certainly would not be a problem if we, at some point this year, next year, whatever, just had the 440 fall under the DPW budget somehow.
This
Just
is
to
a-
chime,
that strikes me as being a lot more sensible. I mean, we had some idiosyncratic approaches to some of this in previous years, and wastewater treatment is DPW.
Yep. No, I agree, Ann. I agree.
You look at Hudson, it's DPW.
so
Every other town.
just to chime in, Leslie and I have actually already discussed this, and I've actually been already sending her the Whitewater bills as I pay them. We just thought that the end of the fiscal year would be a cleaner point.
Yeah, yeah,
To
I would
shift
agree.
those bills over
I-
to her for
I would
payment.
agree that's a good transition.
Mhm.
And it
So-
really won't change anything on
No.
my
No,
end.
doesn't change anything.
So then where would we end up adding it in, Nanachka?
I'd leave it right there because
I
all
think
the
you can keep it
400s
where it is. It'll just be,
Mhm.
it'll just be paid for. I mean, I don't think we need to create a different account. It's just 440 would fall under the responsibility of DPW.
Oh, so we don't actually have to do anything. It's just,
No, it's just who
No.
submits the bills, that's all.
okay.
Can we put it under the DPW? If it's their responsibility, I would like to sit in their budget.
Well,
It almost is
I mean,
because all
especially
the
for being such an amount that's like this. I mean, why have like, I mean, why is it sitting here if it's gonna be a DPW responsibility to pay and receive it after next year? Why not just remove that line and put it on their DPW?
well,
So it's part of the budget.
just to be clear, so it is technically part of the Public Works budget right now, because all of the numbers that start with 4 are part of the Public Works budget. I was just wondering whether it would be put up in like one of these other
Yeah.
421, but it actually probably shouldn't be put in highway, because
right.
if in the event, like I'm not going to make any predictions, but if the town ever had like a larger sewer district or whatever the case may be, for state accounting purposes, all of that would need to show up under its own subcategory.
I would leave it where it is. And when I said DPW, I meant more that the bill approval would be through DPW.
Yeah,
it-
no, I think it's captured correctly now, as you said, Brian, in the 400 series. It's just a matter of where the bills are submitted from. And I think Leslie and Anachka have already discussed this too, so I would suggest leaving it where it is, because it really is under the, I wouldn't put it, for example, in the highway budget. We have different 400 categories for different functions under DPW, and I think sewer should be in its own account.
Okay.
You've got several water monitoring and water waste control articles here. I think you've got enough to just make a new department of water treatment and monitoring, and just have these things be line items within that one group.
Well, the landfill, if you're including the landfill in that, Bob, I don't know if you were, I'm
Yeah, I
speculating.
am.
But that one's paid out of the Board of Health, so it doesn't,
Oh,
that's
okay.
not one of the DPW's budgets.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
why don't
maybe
we
for
just,
next year, we can kind of relook at that and move that up into a 500 Board of Health category.
yeah. We'll have to make a little memo about all these little,
There's a UMass, a Massachusetts guide for what, so everybody uses the same account numbers and the same department numbers. So I can review that and see where we are in that.
okay, that'd be great. But for now, was there a motion to approve 440? Yeah, there was. I think we were just about to vote it, right?
Not yet, but I move we approve sewer for 8,700.
I second that.
Okay. Anne,
Hi.
Craig,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and yes from me as well. Okay. So we actually already voted 912 workers' compensation. So I believe the last budget for you, Don, is 945 other insurance.
I believe you're right. So 945, we've just gotten all of our final figures in from Maya. So I'm not sure how you'd like to go through this, Brian, because really these are the figures from Maya.
So just, can you confirm that what we have listed is correct? So we've got $76,063 for general insurance. $1,000 police and fire accident. That's the deductible, right?
That's a deductible, yes.
And then 38,778 for motor vehicle and 3,000 for public official liability. And Jenny, chime in if this spreadsheet doesn't reflect, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
open the other.
It doesn't. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Don, that 76,063 needs to be changed to 78 something, and I think it's on your sheet. I could also open up mine if I can get to it. Do you see, I think it's at the bottom of the first, or bottom of the second page on yours, Don? Are the figures from Maya?
Which one, we've got, which one are we looking at, Jenny?
So the general insurance it's a figure that begins with 78.
I've got,
Am I misremembering? Hang on,
yes,
let me
you
get
are.
into-
At least I'm not, the general insurance I have on my sheet is 74,296.
So maybe it's 74. Let me just look.
I have 76,063.
Hang on.
Nanachka, do you know where you got 76063? Because I'm looking through emails to see whether I can find it, and I'm
So I'm looking at the numbers from Maya right now, and it's the property casualty and professional are included in that line, and property casualty is 60,162 and professional is 14,134.
Yep, I have those.
So Don, you are right. I'm misremembering it. 74,296 is the
Yep.
final.
That's what I have.
so this should be 74296,
Yep,
and then 1,000 is right.
yep,
38,778 is right.
yep. And then Kristen Noel
Oh, right.
is requesting to increase the deductible to 5,000.
5,000.
For public official liability.
No, for the deductible.
Oh, sorry. So from 0 to 5,000.
No, it's currently
Currently
3,000.
2,000.
Well, it was 2,000 last year. It was 3,000 on our original.
Oh, it looks like this is mislabeled then for some reason. See, because that's showing up as public official liability.
It does. It looks like it skipped a line.
Wait, so, sorry, should there be anything under public official liability? Or is it all baked in?
I don't
think
know
that
what
that should be the deductible line, Brian.
I agree.
I think my cut and paste went awry.
Okay, wait, so, sorry, so public official liability should be zeroed out. And
Yep.
then basically this should be here. And then this, we want to move up to 5,000 from 3,000.
Yes.
Correct.
All right, so the new bottom line that I have is 119,074.
Correct.
Great. All right, so any other questions about that?
Yes, the police and fire accident, that the $1,000 is a deductible.
Please.
And if it's a deductible, why does it go under deductible?
No, I think, you know what I think it is? That this is again a cut and paste issue because I
Yeah.
believe that $1,000 should be actually for employee bonding.
Exactly right.
Oh,
And
God,
then-
you're right. The whole
and
thing
then-
needs to be shifted up.
And then police and fire accidents should be 38,778.
Correct.
So it would be like this.
Sorry.
Um, wait, that didn't work out. Hold on a second.
You just need to shift those two up.
Yeah, I know. I'm just,
That's the right number.
there we go. Right?
Yep.
So
What's
I
the
think,
motor vehicle? 0 now?
Yeah, because that's in the general insurance line item.
yep. Oh, so
When
we
we-
should actually explain. So
Yeah.
there's a little history here, which is that previously, a lot of these insurances were broken out into like, there was a separate category for motor vehicle. There was a separate category for, remind me again, what's up in general insurance? It was like,
Liability, motor
Li-
vehicle, building.
Building, yeah.
yeah, so now there's a much, they're all kind of wrapped up into this 174,296 number.
The reason that they are that way is because we moved from Murphy to Maya last year or before last fiscal year. So it's to match it to the way they do the billing.
Any other questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve 945 for 119,074?
I move we approve 945 for 119,074.
I'll second it. This is Ann.
Okay, roll call. Anne,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Bill, Omid,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay. Geez, thanks for bearing with us. So I think we're about 15 minutes later getting to the Capitol, but that's okay. Sorry to keep you so late, Dawn. Let me know when you want me to share my screen. I've got this year's recommendations, and I also have the 5-year spreadsheet that was sent around.
So maybe it's best, Brian, if you share it now, and then we can just, again, go through it however you think it's best. I know it's klutzy with everybody online, but I think maybe I'll just give you a brief overview as to, where we are from my perspective, how we got here, and then answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, I will share. I'm going to share the FY22 ranking document first.
Okay.
Can you make it a little bigger?
Yep, I'm gonna try.
Blind woman?
I learned from the school department how to make it smaller, and
Oh, it makes the numbers look smaller, so it doesn't seem so egregious.
Whoops.
Don, is this your ranking?
yes, the rankings are mine.
Hey, Brian, do you want me to share mine? Because I don't know that you have the latest copy. We had made some minor adjustments and actually added a ranking by number at the lower column. Do you want me to share that instead?
Yeah, I think
And nothing would have, I don't believe the numbers changed, but it's easier to look at potentially with the.
Yeah,
why
don't-
Not earth shattering, but
sure.
We tried a few different ways to try to make it as clear as possible.
how do you always show it so nicely? Hang on, view. No, I don't want 100%.
The bottom line spend doesn't change, the rankings don't change, but also being able to see the sequential rankings we thought might be helpful.
Why am I not finding how to zoom out here?
The lower right corner.
My screen has so many, here it is. 75. What percentage do you usually use to get it? So that people can read it?
There's a slider in the lower right corner.
Slider in the
Yeah,
lower right. Oh, you know what? Everyone is in front of it. So let me move you guys. Is that a decent size?
That's fine. And you can also pinch it on your own screen to get it.
this works, I think, for
Yeah,
everyone.
I don't have a
Can you make your
tablet, so,
spreadsheet bigger? Not just enlarge it, but make it taller?
well, I'm gonna get rid of the top there.
Perfect.
I don't know if I've made things more difficult, but that's what I added to it, is just so you could see the 1 to 13 in an easy
Yep.
see place.
So taking it from the top, I'm gonna walk through it by department. Fire and EMS, we've got the pumper rescue truck for $800,000 and the ambulance for $257,000. As was stated earlier, we would not, I've got the fire truck ranked number 1. As was stated earlier, we would not have any debt payments in FY22. The lead time is such that we wouldn't make our first debt payment until FY23. The fire,
Go ahead. I just have a stupid question.
the
The
ambulance, I'm
the
sorry.
asterisk on these denotes what? Is there a note somewhere or is?
There is,
Yeah,
Okay,
the asterisk,
right there.
the footnote below, the asterisk is there because we're not proposing to purchase with free cash. So anything that would be funded by a method other than free cash has an asterisk.
okay, thank you.
So in the case of the fire truck, it would be borrowing. In the case of the ambulance, it's paid for through the ambulance revolving
Right.
fund.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate
Okay.
that.
For the police department, we've got the security camera system, which is for the town common. We've got the cruiser camera system, implementing our plan for every year going forward. We would have a camera on the new cruiser when it comes in. We would propose to do that in conjunction with the body cameras that we're purchasing through a grant that the police department got. For the DPW budget, we've got wastewater treatment facility repairs. This is something that I recommended be added a little late in the game, but what we have currently is a little over $21,000 remaining in the wastewater treatment stabilization fund. And the problem with doing it that way, I didn't consider this when we organized that a couple of years ago, is since we made it a stabilization fund, it can only be utilized by a town meeting vote. And the whole idea of having these funds is if we have a situation at the wastewater treatment facility that needs to be addressed immediately, having to have a town meeting doesn't lend itself to that. So I'm proposing to take the $21,000 that's in that stabilization fund, add an additional $25,000 from free cash, and have an article available to spend from when we need it. That adds up to about a little over $46,000. I've discussed that with Randy. I've discussed it with Rob Frieswick, and we agree that that should be a sufficient number to take care of any unforeseen maintenance issues that we may have. For instance, if we need to replace a pump or a motor. We've just finished replacing the membranes, so I think we're good there, but I would hate to see us in a position where something comes up at the water treatment facility and we don't have the funds to deal with it. That could be pretty serious. Also, the 19,000 gross vehicle weight dump truck and body and plow. Up until this past week, I've been thinking that we could pay for that using free cash. But the more I looked at it and the more, especially when I talked to Brian last week about, I asked whether or not advisory would like to try to maintain the $350,000 balance in free cash that has been discussed as a target in the past, and he indicated that would be a positive thing, knowing that the cost of borrowing right now is very low. It seemed to make sense to borrow for the truck. As Danachka said earlier, pay for it however aggressively we can, but it frees up money to allow us to be able to do the other capital items that that came forward this year. There was one in particular I was going to kick out, and if we borrow for the truck, I'm proposing that we actually do this year. The plow and associated equipment for the 46,000 gross vehicle weight truck, which the truck itself is being paid for through Chapter 90 funds, but since the plow is specific to winter time and the attachments, you can only use Chapter 90 funds for something that can be used all year round. So the plow and the hardware to attach it needs to be paid for out of free cash. That would be $10,000. And then as we discussed earlier, when Randy was in doing his DPW budget, we've talked about asset management. $50,000 for a study of town buildings by an independent third party to get a good sense of condition of the buildings, things that we should start worrying about, things we should start planning for. We believe $50,000 is a good number for that. At the library driveway replacement, we've got the pavers coming up in front of the library. We've got a lot of trip hazards there. It was brought forward last year and it was decided to defer it to this year. I don't think it's a good idea to defer it again. And I think the way we would approach it would be to take up the pavers and just, put down asphalt as the rest of the driveway is. And then for the schools, we've got the boiler replacement at Sawyer for $95,000. The smoke detector replacement for $14,000, and the oil tank removal for $30,000. The oil tank removal is one I was going to propose to push out to next year, but I'm not wild about leaving an oil tank in the ground, and it's got oil in it. And if we've got the money this year to be able to do that and maintain our $350,000 cushion, plus or minus in free cash, I think this is the year to do it, because I can see, we don't know what next year is going to bring. So if we can deal with the oil tank now, I would say it's a good idea to do it. And then for Emerson, $20,000 for air duct cleaning. It's been highly recommended by the school district and the vendor that looked at it. I think we need to get the air in the schools as healthy as possible. No one can tell me when the last time was the air ducts were cleaned. So I think given the health crisis right now, I think anything we can do to improve the air is a positive thing. So that's why I actually have that ranked number 2 as a health concern. So it all adds up to, as far as spending out of free cash, that adds up to $307,678. And just for capital spending, and I know Nanachka's made some adjustments to impact free cash in other ways, but and I'll let her explain that. But as far as pure capital spending, that brings us down to $353,000. I'm just reading it off my dry board, $353,301. I do know, for example, that the $20,000 for the air duct cleaning, I believe it is, Nanotchka's got some money from an old article that can be applied to that. And it lowers the overall spend. The spend is the same. The impact to the budget is better. And I'll let Nanotchka speak to that. So those are the capital projects brought forward this year. Those are my rankings. My recommendation is that we borrow for the second truck for the DPW, which allows us to maintain our free cash position and allows us to do the oil tank removal.
Don,
Yes,
the Emerson duct cleaning, that's just the new portion of Emerson, right?
I believe so, yes.
Jenny, would you mind just stopping the screen share for a minute? It's easier for me to see if folks have questions. I have some questions, but if other folks have questions, feel free to chime in.
Sure. I got two questions. The ambulance, it's not a big deal, but why is it so far down the list if it has no bearing on our budget? It's paid for out of ambulance receipts.
Well, something had to be eighth, and knowing that we can pay for it. See, I didn't let since I wasn't concerned about how to pay for it, it dropped down the list. At one point, it was fourth or fifth, but I elevated things like the air duct cleaning and the smoke detector replacement because it was other public safety.
In a way, it shouldn't even be on the list. It should just be, I think, accepted as a thing we vote separately or, consider to be such a low cost to us and a good thing that we just do it.
Sure. No, I don't disagree, Craig. I wanted to capture it as an expense, and then how it's covered is a different matter.
Sure. And the other question I had, comment I had was the wastewater funds there. I assume we're only paying, what, 15% or whatever of the maintenance for that building?
15% of the maintenance, but 100% of the capital expense. So the ongoing monthly work that's done, the testing and so forth, but we own the water treatment facility, so we're on the hook to pay for the capital.
Okay.
Other questions?
Hey, Don, on the water treatment facility, how do we know that the regional school district is truly forking out the other 85%?
How do we know they're
If they
paying it?
don't, we make it up in our capital expenditures.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, for the wastewater treatment plant, we're paying 15% of the operating expenses.
Well, the bill comes in from Whitewater at 100%.
Yeah.
And 85% of it is paid by the district and 15% is paid for. I mean, the way we know they're paying is Whitewater is getting paid.
Okay, all right.
I had a question about the number you have for the ambulance. So it's 257, but I believe on maybe some prior versions of our spreadsheet, we had an ambulance at around 375.
Yes.
So which number should we be using?
We should be using 257. I've reviewed it with the chief. I can give you some of the higher level reasons for that. One is the chief took some of he modified some of the requirements and he got some more, I should say he got more accurate pricing from a couple of vendors. He got rid of the diesel option, which saved money. And there is, I'm not going to use the right terminology, no matter how much the chief trains me, but there is there's a lift on on a hydraulic lift that when you take the patient out to the ambulance, you could, the lift is basically touchless and it gets the patient into the back of the ambulance. Since it helps create a touchless environment, we can use $50,000 in CARES Act funding to pay for that. So it's a cost avoidance on our part. The expense didn't go away. We're just not paying for it. So,
Okay.
those are the main factors.
And then the other thing I had a question about was the building assessment, which is, so assuming this is approved by the town meeting for $50,000, when would the RFP go out? Like sometime in July or?
The RFP can go out prior to July. We can't spend any money until July. Well, actually, that's not true. When you have an article, you can pay for it right away. But the RFP would go out in May. We would probably award the contract, I would say, in July.
Would it be possible for you to just share a draft before it goes out? Because I know I'd be curious to see which buildings are actually on it. Like I know there's some obvious buildings that are on it, but then like what is like Persons Park going to be on it? Or things like that. I'm just wondering like who's.
Yeah, no, I'll be happy to share it. It would not be my proposal that Persons Park would be on it. But that's just my opinion. I don't have the final say on that, but just off the top of my head, you know, we're talking about library, Houghton, public safety, town hall, DPW. You know, those are pretty much the buildings that come to mind, but I could easily be overlooking something. But no, I'll be happy to do that.
If you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen for a second. So this is just obviously a different way of capturing all the information you went over, but I just want to make sure that our numbers are right. So this number will be revised down to the 257, right?
Yes.
And then on your spreadsheet, the 240 from chapter 90 isn't being reflected, but Nanachka can tell me if I'm like, we still need to have it show up here because it'll come out of other available funds, right?
Yes, yeah. So basically we'll get the 240 in and use it to spend.
Okay. And then I think, Dawn, this is what you were referring to where Nanachka felt like maybe the $20,000 for air duct could be, some of it will be free cash, but some of it will be something else.
Yes.
So we had money left over from Emerson School carpet replacement from 2 years ago. So I figured we could tack it onto this one.
Got it. Got it. And so then the only thing I want to point out to advisory is that, you know, obviously the unpaid bills is not on Dawn's capital list, and neither is the tax title revolving fund. And so the actual free cash amount here is a little bit higher than what we saw on his spreadsheet, which was about 307,000. But I think everything else on this tracks with what you presented, right? Looks
I
that
believe
way.
it does.
Okay, and then I see this note here is if we decided to have a more aggressive pay down schedule than the 5 years. Right,
Yeah, I mean,
Nanachka?
if we have debt capacity, it might not be a bad idea.
I saw that the interest assumption was 10%, right?
No, I think it's 2 or 3. If you go to the debt tab, it'll show it on the top. 2%.
Oh, no, sorry, never mind. I meant the interest. Wait, where is it? So,
The ratio of principal to interest.
yeah. There we go. So is 2% our actual, like
It changes every year. So it's a band. So you go out, you know, you put it out to bid and it could be higher, it could be lower.
Well, what have we been getting lately?
I think it was less than 1% last year.
Okay, sorry, I can stop sharing this screen now. Any other questions for Dawn? I don't want to keep him here all night.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I had one comment and I had one question for the committee, I think. So after the presentation last week by the school committee about the duct work cleaning, I sort of left with a concern that the only reason we're doing this at one school and the bill is so low is because they haven't really looked at the other schools. And I'm just a little concerned that there's a bigger bill looming out there if they look harder, and maybe it's neither here nor there for our current discussions, but it feels like there's more out there that will need to be taken care of.
Well, I certainly can't say there isn't. I think when we did some work in Emerson in the Green Communities Grant, I don't know if those ducts were evaluated at the time. So I can't answer that. And we don't own the high school. We only own Sawyer and Emerson. So I really can't speak to what evaluation would or wouldn't have been done at the high school.
The other thing that may play in there is Stowe has this new schools, our big new school, and I think all the classes have been moved in there. So they haven't had ductwork sitting around for 25 years.
Yeah. Okay. So I had one philosophical question about capital expenses. So the other item we talked about it several weeks ago, which is not a capital expense because of the way we account for it, but is just the police vehicle. And I just sort of wonder if DPW has like 12 vehicles. They will probably also need to buy a vehicle every year. I'm just sort of wondering if maybe they should also have a yearly fund to go towards the purchase of a vehicle, or if the police vehicle should not be just automatically funded every year and it should be considered a capital expense.
I think the DPW doesn't buy a vehicle every year. It might seem that way, but
You've been catching up.
Yeah, and I thought we already talked to them, and they said they're gonna come up with like a life cycle management for the DPW vehicles, and then if that's working, we're gonna add the police and fire to it as well.
That's correct, Omen. We're going to, excuse me, we are going to be implementing a life cycle management plan there, and we are going to try to include the police department in it. I don't have a long range plan for the DPW yet, only because Randy was very new and had a lot of immediate issues to deal with. So I gave him a pass on putting together the long range plan. But when we come in next year, we will have a 5-year plan, and we will have a life cycle management plan. I think I agree with you. I think that's really important.
Bob, you had a comment?
Yeah, on to Bob's question. At one time, the police car vehicle was always a separate article. And because it was presented more times than not, it made sense just to put it in the budget because the cost didn't really fluctuate very much each year. I think the difference between a police vehicle and a DPW vehicle is that a year-to-year comparison on the line item won't really be useful. Whereas with the police cars, even if you skip a year, you can at least see how much it's changing when you buy a new one. So it used to be a separate article. It was put as a line item in the budget, mostly for the sake of consistency, so you could compare it year to year, because you don't get to compare articles year to year.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So one quick question about the fuel tank. Is that creates any safety concerns for the kids at the school? because it has fuel in it, and we have to remove it. And would that bring it up higher?
We don't have, well, we have no evidence that it's leaking. The oil tank is underground, and we believe it can be removed safely without creating any hazards. Buried oil tanks make me nervous, and even though we have no sign that there's any leaking, I think the longer it's left in the ground, obviously.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just want to know, like, if it's a risk, shouldn't we move it up higher level because it's at the school where kids are attending and everything?
I see what you're
That's where I'm
saying.
going.
I see what you're saying. Well, I had it ranked 13th only because I was ready to defer it altogether until I saw that we could afford it. You know, because there wasn't something that I thought we should bump in lieu of that. But given the fact that I believe we can cover all of the capital expenses this year, I think the rankings to a certain extent become less important, because, you know, even though something may be ranked 13th, it doesn't mean that I don't think we should be doing it. Last year, I created rankings and I drew a line, and everything below the line didn't get funded. And we weren't in that position this year, but I thought the approach should still be the same. But it's not that I don't think it's important.
I would just like to make a comment on process, and somebody can chime in if this doesn't make sense, but typically when we vote on capital items, we vote on the actual article as it's presented in the draft warrant. And so what I'm going to recommend is that, you know, we're having another meeting on the 16th. I've invited the school committee representatives to come in so we can start that conversation about approach to budgeting for next year. But otherwise, the agenda for the 16th will be pretty light. And so I want us to spend the rest of that meeting going through the actual warrant and voting on things. But I guess my request is that if there's anybody on advisory who feels like they have any questions that they would want addressed tonight, you should ask them, because otherwise I'm going to assume that when we get to the capital items on the warrant, everybody knows how they're going to vote based on tonight's conversation. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained that.
Yeah, it makes sense. And, you know, I'll defer to my colleagues. I don't see anything that'll cause a lot of agita.
Yep, done.
I just have one question for advisory. I usually don't get to ask you guys questions, but I just wanted to see if anybody had any concerns about borrowing for the DPW vehicle. I just think it makes sense given the situation that we're in, and I know nobody pushed back, and normally I take yes for an answer and don't poke at it, but I just want to make sure if anybody had any concerns that we talked them through.
Not me.
And I would just like to see it in terms of the whole budget, and so I need an updated spreadsheet. I don't have a view of the whole picture with the spreadsheet that I have.
Has anybody given any thought of what number you want to put in the debt spreadsheet?
Sorry, what number meaning? Oh, for the 115?
Yeah, I just put a random number, but I think you guys should decide, not me.
So what I was hoping to do as we got to the very, very end of the budget is we have our little dashboard where we figure out what % of the operating budget is going to debt. And we have I think it's a best practice guideline of between 5 and 7%. And so I know last year we were like at the very low end of that in terms of how much we were spending for debt. And so if we're at the low end again this year, I could personally support like bumping it up and paying on a shorter schedule.
We definitely will be, because we're lower than last year.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking you got that big $800,000 truck coming up next year.
What's the highest we could go, Nanachka?
All of it?
I'd be curious other people's
You guys
perspectives
can
on
just think
that.
about it and
Yeah.
talk next
Well,
week.
To me, it sounds like a reasonable approach to borrow some of it, but I agree. I think we need to look at the full picture at the spreadsheet before we can really make a call as to how quickly we want to pay it down, or, you know, if we want to pay the whole thing.
Well, we really can't look at the whole spreadsheet until we get the voted school numbers. It's kind of, you're not really looking at the right numbers.
So we will have that on the 16th, which is why I'm taking next week off. Because like until they vote on the 10th or the 11th, like.
And the school committee will vote on the 10th, and then I agree. Everything becomes real after that. And I think advisory can do some nice modeling once we have those numbers to get a sense for what your comfort level is.
So the only other things that we wanted to do tonight were to revote some budgets. So Dawn, you don't have to stick around for that unless you
Oh,
want
bless you.
to. Unless other people have questions for him. I just don't like, he's sitting there in his office all by himself and makes me sad.
I haven't even seen the mice.
Well, thank you very much. This was really helpful.
Okay. Well, no, thank you. Thank you. This has been very helpful for me as well.
So Brian, you have no meeting next week?
We don't have a meeting next week, but we'll meet on the 16th, and I think we'll also meet on the 23rd as well.
Okay.
Oh, and just as Brian, just as a reminder, at the meeting of March 11th, that's the meeting where the selectmen do their full walkthrough of the detailed walkthrough of the warrant, vote of many of their recommendations. Town council will be there. The town moderator will be present. And many times advisory attends that as well.
What's the date of that, Don?
March 11th, Thursday, a week from this Thursday. So that's usually a pretty lengthy discussion on the warrant, but a lot of good information gets discussed, and I think advisory might find it helpful if you were there.
Yeah, so actually, Jenny, why don't we cross post for the 11th? I won't do any voting for us on that night because
But just in case.
Just in case.
You thought you had a week off.
I'm sorry, Brian.
No, that's okay. All right, but I do tonight want to reconsider, we've got to reconsider the planning budget, the police budget, the highway, the transfer station, and then also, I don't think we ever technically voted on dispatch.
So Brian, do you need me for anything else?
You are free to go.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good night,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, Tom.
Good night.
Good
I
night.
thought we did, no?
I mean, so I have the budget that you sent earlier today, and it looks like there's a blank on advisory approved.
Let me,
You can take a look, but I'll go back and we'll start working on planning.
yeah, I'll have to talk to, I know we approved the budget at the finance committee meeting, but I don't know if it has to go for another step. I'll find out.
Okay, so you know what? Why don't we can save this for the 16th.
If it changes, it's only by a couple dollars, like a rounding thing.
Okay. All right, so can everybody see the spreadsheet that I'm sharing?
Yep.
Okay, so our fabulous town planner is leaving, so we've hired a replacement, I believe, as of last week, and my understanding is that the new wages this is just the amount based on her experience and what she was hired at. So we have to revote the planning board budget to reflect the new wages.
I move we accept the new planning board budget at 76,602.
I second.
Okay. Anne,
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Omid. Can you, I think you were on mute again.
It's I.
There you go. Bill,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. So, okay, that's planning board. And then this is what we were alluding to, the settlement of the negotiations. And so the new wage, total wages numbers down here. Nanachka, can you just double check to make sure that
Yes.
the right one?
Yep, that's the updated budget I got from Lorraine.
Okay, now hold on a second. So the number had previously been 1344970, and now it's 1368124.
Revote that or the total for the police department?
I think we should revote the total 1537650.
I move we approve the new total of 153,750 for the police department.
What do you guys want to do for dinner?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Anne,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Omid,
I.
Brian, me yes as well. Okay. Previously, we had voted 705, and it's gone up to 720. So the new bottom number for highway is 859583.
Yes.
I move we approve the total highway budget of 859,583.
I'll second.
Okay, Anne,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Omid,
I.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, last one. Transfer station has to go up to 51,385. So the new bottom line. Oh, you know what? Actually, Nanachka, this is not. So we want to do this 226985. Because we made other changes to that budget. So like, because I just noticed that,
Oh, yeah, good point.
right,
How
so
about-
this should be 226985.
Should we re-look at the other budgets or did we not adjust those?
I'm just gonna take a quick look. Now these numbers are the same. Yep, so these are the same. These are the same. These are the same. So I think this is the only one where we have that issue.
I
Right.
move we approve the transfer station at 226,985.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, Anne,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Omid,
I.
and I'm a yes as well. Last thing I believe is that a couple weeks ago, I had sent out the draft of our annual report, which covers the time period before at least half of you were on advisory. But I don't know if you had a chance to look over it and whether you were generally okay with me just finalizing it with Jenny.
It looked okay to me.
Pretty standard format. Okay. Quick thing, Nanachka. Between now and the 16th, maybe you and I can just scrub everything and make sure that like it's all, I feel like there was a lot of changes at the very last minute, so I want to make sure
Yes.
that they're all
That
right.
lines are in the right place and things. Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything that they want to?
Meeting minutes, Brian?
Oh, yeah, perfect. So I saw that we need to add the link, which I believe should be available on Bolton Access now if you go on, but otherwise they look good to me.
Okay, I'll get the link, no problem.
So I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
I guess they were the February 23rd minutes. All right, Anne,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and Omid,
Aye.
and me. Yes. All right, thank you. I know it was another long meeting, but we're
Are you
getting to the
doing
end.
132 and 131?
What'd you say?
Are you doing 131 and 132? It's on
Oh,
the,
yeah. I'm sorry, guys. Long.
sorry.
No, I'm glad you mentioned it.
Shouldn't take long.
Brian, while you're getting there, I just checked the previous minutes real quick, and on the 19th, we discussed the regional dispatch, but we agreed at the time not to vote on it because we didn't have the final numbers.
Okay. Thank you for looking that up. All right, so yeah, 131, 132, advisory committee. We have dues and supplies of a total of 185. And then we fund our reserve fund at 100,000 pretty much every year.
I move we approve the advisory committee budget at 185 and the reserve fund at 100,000.
I second that.
Okay, Anne,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Omid,
Aye.
and I'm yes as well. All right, thank you, everybody. Motion to adjourn.
Motion
I'll-
to adjourn.
I second the motion.
All right, everybody can just wave goodbye. Thank you again for your time. Have a good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Bye, Buffy.